Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. And this Raw was from Manchester, in the Manchester Arena. And this Raw was taped after SmackDown, so they ended up taping this Monday Night Raw on Friday after SmackDown ended. So, but I really feel for that Manchester crowd because they had to sit through 5 hours with SmackDown being a shit show, and then Monday Night Raw, which Monday Night Raw was garbage. It was absolute shit, a piece of shit show. So these fans in Manchester had to sit through 5 hours of fucking garbage. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them one bit. So let's get on with the Monday Night Raw review. Like I said, this show was absolute a piece of shit. Garbage fucking show. Especially what I want to get to when I talk about the big fucking thing that happened, which I did see the spoiler for this whole segment or promo, and it just made me go. I saw it on Friday when it broke, but I'll get to that. So, Monday Night Raw opened up with Becky Lynch coming out. Becky ended up talking about how she's back in the UK, and from training as a 15-year-old to challenging for the Women's Tag Team Championships as the face of the business. So Becky goes on and mentions how her challengers for the Raw Women's Championship are getting deeper. And Becky was like, oh, bring it on. So Becky goes on to mention about Bayley and Shayna Baszler, both that she's going to face at Survivor Series. And she says she won't stop knocking their heads off and being on top for her other challengers. So Becky puts herself over and says the only thing she really fears in life is not being the greatest. She says, so how about, I regain my legacy as Becky 2 belts right in Manchester. So out came Charlotte Flair. Charlotte got pyro galore. Then we had the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane come out. Then Raw went to commercial. Then when Raw came back from the commercial, we had Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors versus Charlotte and Becky Lynch. Women's Tag Team match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. And originally it was supposed to be Charlotte and Natalya. But unfortunately, Natalya was not there because of quote-unquote family obligations. So they replaced Natalya with Becky Lynch. And the match was pretty meh, in my opinion. Asuka and Kairi Sane ended up winning the match. Asuka ended up rolling up Becky because during the match, Shayna Baszler was outside. She was just watching the match, eyeing what was going on. And then Bayley came. Bayley came out of nowhere, started beating down on Shayna Baszler. And right from there, Asuka and Kairi Sane end up winning the match. Asuka ended up rolling up Becky. So there you go. Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, end up retaining the Tag Team Championships. Then you had what happened post-match. Shayna Baszler ended up retreating through the crowd. Becky was talking trash to Shayna Baszler. and Bayley then ended up attacking Becky Lynch from behind. And Bayley ended up beating down on Becky Lynch at ringside, throwing Becky into the barricade. So basically, that was that. But overall, very meh match. Then we saw Randy Orton. He was backstage. He was talking to Ricochet, and we see the OC. The OC, Styles, Gallows, Anderson. They were arguing with Humberto Carrillo, and Ricochet ends up interrupting them. So the OC started to mock Ricochet, and he challenges the two of them to a match. And Styles goes on and ends up telling Ricochet to get out of the locker room and find someone who wants to team with them to face the OC. So Orton ends up coming in and volunteering. So Orton is going to team with Humberto and Ricochet to take on the OC. So once again, the OC are in another fucking six-man tag. How many six-man tags have the OC have been in? What is this, like 5 of them now? So all I got for the OC is six-man tag, six-man tag, six-man tag. Like, come on already. This is starting to be like when, if you remember last year, Sasha, Bayley, Natalya, and the Riot Squad were all in 6-woman tags. This is what we're seeing now with the OC. It's every single week. Stupid. It's garbage. Then we had Drew McIntyre versus Sin Cara. What can I say? What can I say? Drew McIntyre won the match. Claymore kick to Sin Cara. That was that. Overall, the match was fucking shit. It was an easy win for Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre wins. Moving on. We saw Erick Rowan. He was cutting a promo. And we saw like lines look like from a cage. And Erick Rowan was doing baby talk. And he was talking to the camera. He's like, Oochie boochie. I'm like, what? I'm like, what the fuck is this? So we got that. It was fucking dumb. Oh, speaking of more shit that happened on this show. R-Truth versus the Singh brothers. The Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 title was on the line. R-Truth ended up taking out both of the Singh brothers. Singh brothers didn't want no more. They didn't want to take on R-Truth because it was a 2-on-1 handicap match for the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 title. So then the Singh brothers started running around so R-Truth wouldn't get to them. They started doing laps around the ring. And they leave with the title. Truth, of course, chased them to the back. Singh brothers made up the ramp. And Truth ran back there. Fans were booing because they didn't want to see this fucking garbage. This fucking shit. So R-Truth ends up following them to the back. We go backstage. R-Truth was chasing the Singh brothers through backstage. The Singh brothers then run into the women's locker room. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R-Truth to get out of the ring. And Truth ends up telling R- Screams are heard. Truth was out there. He's like, oh, why are you going in there? See, Truth is smart there. So the Singh brothers come back out and they run to another room, a dark room. And they're like, oh, turn on the light, turn on the light. What they don't know, when they turn on the light, Erick Rowan was in there. So Rowan ends up destroying the Singh brothers. Hits them into the walls, concrete walls in the room. We see Rowan ends up picking up a couch, and he ends up ramming the couch right into the Singh brothers. And R-Truth comes into the room, and the Singh brothers are asking R-Truth for help. What? Why are they asking for help when they're fighting him for the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 garbage title? So R-Truth ends up looking at one of them, and Truth ends up leaving. So Truth turns the lights back off. He leaves. And that was that. Fucking garbage. Match ended in a no contest. Fucking shit. Absolute garbage. And I'm like, why are they still having this Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 title still on fucking TV? Why? I've said it many times. Stick this Jobber title on social media. Stick it to YouTube, Twitter, all that. Facebook. Stick it to that. WWE, they don't even fucking listen. They don't fucking listen. We still gotta see this shit on fucking TV with this Jobber title that should be fucking retired and thrown in the dumpster and burned. Fucking garbage. Then we had Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins came out. He was on the mic. Fans were booing him. Seth Rollins ends up talking about Triple H, Finn Balor, and Adam Cole. So Seth Rollins admits Triple H did light a fire under him. Seth ended up saying NXT is where he started. And he says this is his home. And this is his show. He says, this is Monday Night Rollins. And Seth says NXT started this fight, but he and his gang will finish it at Survivor Series. Of course, an NXT chant broke out. Fans were chanting NXT. Seth ends up saying that Survivor Series is a few weeks away, and he wants to talk about tonight in Manchester. Seth ends up going on talking about being the best, and he issued a open challenge. Seth says he wants to face the United Kingdom's best. And he went on to say that he's not leaving the ring until he got the fight he wants. Seth ends up said that it's time to step up, and who's going to do it? And out came Imperium from NXT UK. Sorry about that, but I was saying Imperium of NXT UK came out. Imperium is made up of course, Walter, who is the United Kingdom champion, Fabian Eichner, Marcel Barthel, and Alexandra Wolf. Imperium my opinion, one of my favorite stables in NXT UK. They are really good in the ring. All these guys, like Walter, fan of Walter, awesome in the ring. So they're standing on the stage, and the fans end up chanting for Walter, and Imperium end up walking down the ramp. Walter got on the mic. Walter said to Rollins, says Rollins wanted the best. Here they are. So Walter ended up introducing himself and also Imperium, saying, they're here to restore the honor of the sport. Walter ends up saying the ring Seth is standing in with his dirty feet is sacred to them. And because he's not in the United States, doesn't mean he's safe from the NXT takeover. So Seth ends up saying that he knows who Imperium are. And he saw the stunt they tried to pull on SmackDown. So Seth goes on, and he ends up accepting the challenge. He ends up telling Walter to get to the ring so he can burn his ass down. And so that was that. That was the promo from Seth. But cool seeing Imperium. Like that Walter was on the mic. But overall, cool seeing Imperium. Then we had the match when Raw came back from the commercial. Seth Rollins versus Walter. I have to say, it was a decent match between both of them. It was a dream match to see. But in the end, the match, sorry about that, but I was saying, the match was decent. It was a dream match to see, Seth and Walter. But in the end, the match ended in a disqualification because we had Fabian Eichner, Marcel Barthel, and Alexander Wolf come in. They end up attacking Seth. The Street Profits then came out and started beating down on Imperium. And Imperium came back, started beating down the Street Profits and Seth Rollins. Then Kevin Owens came out, went right after Walter, and we had a brawl with Kevin Owens, the Street Profits, Seth Rollins, and Imperium. So then we had an 8-man tag. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and the Street Profits versus Imperium. And I gotta say, this was, a decent match between these guys. Imperium, they finally, were in the ring for this Monday Night Raw. Because, it's Raw versus NXT. Gotta have that hype for Survivor Series. But in the end, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and the Street Profits end up winning the match. Seth ended up hitting the curb stomp to Alexander Wolf. There you go. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and the Street Profits end up winning the match. But overall, it was a decent 8-man tag match. Not bad of a match, in my opinion. Doesn't say for the rest of the show. Then we had Andrade Cien Almas versus Cedric Alexander. Very short match. Shit match. Once again, Andrade got help from Zelina Vega. Where Cedric Alexander had controlled the match, The referee was distracted by Andrade. Zelina Vega ended up holding on to Cedric's feet. And that's when Andrade took control of the match. Ended up hitting the hammerlock DDT to Cedric. There you go. Andrade Cien Almas wins the match once again, thanks to Zelina Vega. I mean, how many times is WWE going to have Andrade win a match with Zelina's help? I'm like, can this guy win a match on his own without having Zelina Vega, interfering or getting help from Zelina? Let's see Andrade win a match on his own. I don't understand why they keep having him get help from Zelina, which is going to prove and look that Andrade can't win a match on his own, and he has to have help from Zelina all the time. Come on. And then we go to this fucking garbage. This is what I read on Friday when the spoiler was leaked and fans shitted on this whole fucking segment. Oh my god. Here we go. Here we go, guys. The whole segment with Lana, Rusev, and Bobby Lashley. So Lana ends up coming out. She got on the mic. Boos from the crowd. Lana says she's here to confess her sins. She talks about how the truth is all she has and how honest she is. She ends up telling the truth. Truth is, she ended up cheating on Rusev. But Lana ends up saying that Rusev cheated on her first. She claimed that she had sex with Bobby Lashley 7 weeks ago. Yeah, this is exciting. This is an exciting segment, folks. So Lana ended up talking about how she believes in monogamy. And she is, in fact, get ready, 9 weeks pregnant. Oh, just by explaining this, I know you all are probably like, oh. So, Lana ends up losing her mind about the pregnancy. So out came Rusev. Rusev came out, and when Lana was speaking, I'm like, when she was complaining about all this, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Why is this shit on TV? So, Rusev came out. Rusev was on the mic. He said he's surprised. And, that Lana takes offense because he's a sex addict. And that he wanted to sex her everywhere. Rusev says they did it in the tank at WrestleMania. But he's just trying to understand this whole thing. He says he's a sex addict, a cheater. And, now, Lana's pregnant. So he says Lana is indignant. And he says he didn't call her a liar. Saying he's just trying to understand how Lana's manipulating this whole situation. So Rusev and Lana, they're screaming at each other. Lana slapping Rusev. And now Bobby Lashley ended up coming out. So, she grabs Rusev, and Lashley gets to the ring, beats down on Rusev. Bobby Lashley ended up slamming Rusev, which looked fucking terrible. So Lashley took down Rusev, and they leave Rusev, lying in the ring. Lana and Lashley head to the stage. They're laughing, and they're laughing about how she's not actually pregnant. Yeah, she's not actually pregnant. It was just a whole setup. And Lana and Bobby Lashley make out. Oh my god. It's fucking garbage. This fucking shitty storyline which WWE should fucking end. This is the worst storyline of the year for WWE. I would have to rank this whole thing up there with, the Bayley This Is Your Life that Alexa Bliss did, and the Bobby Lashley sisters that Sami Zayn, did. Which both of those were absolutely fucking terrible. I would put this storyline up there with those two. Absolute fucking garbage. This is one of the worst. This could be one of the worst segments in Monday Night Raw history. I shit you not. This was absolute fucking garbage. And I read in the report, and I said this, that Lana, Bobby Lashley, and Rusev could not be comfortable with this storyline. There was a report that came out, and I was right about this. There was a report that came out that Lana is uncomfortable with this storyline. There you go. I was fucking right. And then we have Rusev going on in an article saying that he was calling out the fans about this storyline. That Rusev is happy about this storyline. What? Rusev, how could you be happy about this storyline? Do you see how this storyline is? Do you know how garbage and how shitty this storyline is? Apparently you don't. And apparently you're just, you're just not, saying, oh yeah, this whole storyline is garbage. This is just burying me even more. You don't think about that, Rusev? But yet you go on and say, you call the fans out and say, oh, I enjoyed this storyline. Unbelievable. With Rusev saying that, calling out the fans. Absolute garbage. This whole storyline, this whole segment is absolute fucking garbage. This is one of the worst segments in Monday Night Raw history. Like I said, it's up there with the Bayley This Is Your Life and the Bobby Lashley sisters segment. Oh, then we had Erick Rowan versus this loco by the name of Sona Dursun. I think that's how you pronounce the name. Squash match. Garbage. Erick Rowan won with the Iron Claw. Moving on. We had the War Raiders versus Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. The tag team from NXT UK. Very fun tag team. I enjoy both Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. They were former NXT UK tag team champions. And the match itself, it was an okay match. Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster were fun, but you could tell that they were just put here to get destroyed by the War Raiders, which they actually did. The War Raiders won the match, ended up hitting the Viking Experience on, I think it was Mark Andrews. Yeah, it was Mark Andrews. There you go. The War Raiders end up winning. it's for the whole, NXT invasion thing. Since they're in the UK, that's why we saw Imperium and, Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. But War Raiders end up winning. Then we had the main event. Ricochet, Randy Orton, and Humberto Carrillo versus the OC. 6-man tag. Like I said, once again, the OC are in a 6-man tag. This is like, what, the 5th 6-man tag that the OC have been in? But the match itself, it was, okay match. Not great or perfect by any means, though, but it's back and forth between the both of them. And the end of the match, Humberto Carrillo hit a diving moonsault on AJ Styles. And he ended up pinning Styles. So there you go. Ricochet, Randy Orton, and Humberto Carrillo won the 6-man tag match. And post-match, you had Randy Orton. He ended up trying to fake the RKO on Ricochet. And Randy Orton ended up saying something, saying that he does what he wants, when he wants, wherever he wants. And then, he left, and Monday Night Raw went off. Monday Night Raw ended. But the match itself, it was okay, but not great or perfect by any means, though. But absolute shit show this was. Same with SmackDown. Both shows were terrible in Manchester. Garbage. There you go. That was the Monday Night Raw review. So that's it for the review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, I'll see you all later.